What's going on, Atta Gains? David Messick here. Me and Josh are in the gym again. We brought you the how to properly bench press, and we brought you the how to properly squat. So we figured, why not show you guys how to properly deadlift? It's one of the big three, so we're gonna go ahead today and jump in on how to properly set up your deadlift, how to do it correctly, how to not break your back in the process, and how to get some amazing gains and awesome results. So let's go ahead and just start deadlifting.
So deadlifts, in my opinion, are very crucial to overall strength building and muscle building. Now, there has been controversy as of late off of a Joe Rogan podcast where a guy mentioned that deadlifts can be dangerous and the risk to reward ratio is not that great.
By the way, just quick little tip: deadlifts. If you're deadlifting to be a better deadlifter, fine. If you're not doing that for deadlift's sake, then don't do it. The risk to reward ratio is a joke.
I mean, that's kind of a yes and no thing. My personal opinion, I think they're very essential for building overall functional strength. You don't have to go super heavy like a power lifter with these. You can build a really good base for overall body strength, and you can also build some really good muscle on your back, your legs, everything. It just it works the whole schmeal of the body. So right now we're gonna teach you how to do a proper stance, get the grip down. We're gonna go everything here very briefly. So with our deadlifts, there's two styles, but I'm gonna go over those real quick. First, we're gonna go with conventional deadlifts. So what we're gonna start with here is the stance. Now the stance, I would say for conventional deadlifts, you're gonna have a good shoulder width stance right here at the bottom here. Your feet are gonna be pointed more forward. And again, like doing these shoeless, for deadlifts, a heel raise of any kind, that might work against you. You can pull a hammer doing that because they're gonna tend to make you lean farther forward. You want a nice flat base. So, like I was saying, a good shoulder width stance here. And when you're setting up, you want to make sure when you grip the bar, you can either go overhand or under. You can do a cross grip, or you can use wrist wraps if you want. That's going to be up to you, but just for the sake of building our grip, we're going to just do a cross grip here, and you want your hands to be set up just slightly outside of your shins. So once you get everything squared up, you're going to be bending the knees down to where they're almost touching the bar, and keep your back straight. Try to arch the back and keep your chest puffed out. And you get everything set up. And what you're going to do is you're going to breathe probably about 60 to 70% in your lungs, and you're going to brace your entire core. So you're going to go, and you're going to hold, and as soon as you hold, you're going to drive up with your heels, and you're gonna feel that through the entire pull motion, and you're gonna be pulling that bar straight up basically. Now with the deadlifts, you're gonna want to use everything you have. Don't use just your back and keep your legs fixed. We're not doing Romanian deadlifts. These are standard deadlifts. You're gonna be using everything you have, and you want everything to go into fluid motion. So again, you just pan around to the side here a little bit. You can kind of see the bend in the knees, and you'll see the arch in the back. As you're driving up, you're going to notice that everything is going to be straightening out into one fluid motion. You're not going to be, when you start out, you're not going to be bringing up your knees first and then back. I see a lot of people doing that. That's kind of a big no-no. You want everything to be fluid. All right, now when you're setting up as well, when you're getting down on the bar here, you're not gonna want to jerk the weight off the floor. You want to keep everything activated. So what you're gonna do is, as you set up and you're about ready to do that initial lift, you're gonna keep everything nice and fixed. You're gonna activate everything through your arms, your shoulders, your traps, everything you have is going to be activated just before you do that initial lift. So you're going to kind of fix everything, and then you're going to drive. And also, once you get that down, you want to make sure not to round your back. A lot of guys, especially when they go a little too heavy, is that what's naturally going to happen is that they're going to start curving their backs. You don't want to have so much weight and little experience with the form to where you're going to be doing any of this, because that's very detrimental to everything you got. Your back could go out, your shoulders, anything. It could be very bad. So one more thing too, these are called deadlifts, not bounce lifts. What do I mean by that? When you're starting the deadlift, you want to do every rep just like how you started, right off the ground with no momentum at all. So do our first lift, and as you come back down, you're going to pause it. Now just for a split second, or as long as you want if you want to make it a little harder. But you need to start every rep just like how you started at the very first rep. So and what I just did there was a sumo deadlift. You notice the stance is just a wee bit wider. Now with these, just very briefly, it's going to be a similar concept to the conventional deadlift. You want to keep your back straight. You want to keep your feet nice and flat. You're going to be driving with your heels, but the difference is your toes, because you're angled so, your feet are so wide in the stance, is that your toes need to be pointed almost directly outward. Not all the way, but you want to try to angle them, because what's going to happen is when you lift up that bar, the bar's going to be dragging across your shins. If you have your toes pointed inward like this, it's going to be kind of like your knees are going to be blocking the bar path. So notice I got my feet pointed out just a little bit wide, and the grip is going to be just a little bit closer together. Like I said, you can play with either the standard overhand grip, the cross grip, or you can use wraps. And with these, they're a little awkward on the cross grip, but it's just something you're going to have to mess around with. But the same concept applies to everything. Keep everything locked and tight. Don't bounce the weight, and just try to have a really good stance. Just make everything nice and solid. So when it comes to choosing between conventional and sumo deadlifts, I think a lot of it has to do with basically your body size. Now I'm a pretty short dude. I'm 5'6", so I personally don't think the sumo deadlifts work for me, because I don't know if you could tell in the video, but I have a very limited range of motion. I seem like I get a whole lot more out of doing a conventional deadlift. It just feels better with my biomechanics, I guess you could say. So it seems like a general rule of thumb might be taller folk, maybe sumo's best for you. If you're shorter, perhaps a conventional will work out better for you, but give it a whirl, see what feels best, and just try to be safe. Speaking of safety, deadlifts it's one of those staple movements where some people lift too heavy and they end up injuring themselves. It's a really common thing to happen. I've actually injured my lower back quite a few times doing deadlifts myself, because sometimes you fatigue, sometimes you lose your focus. It's probably going to happen. It's not really a question of if it's going to happen. It could be when it's going to happen. When you're going heavy on deadlifts, it is a little bit more of a risky movement, but that's why you want to get the form down best you can, because in my opinion the risk is worth it if you can learn how to do them with proper form, and you're going to build up a really good base. You're going to build up a lot of strength and a lot of muscle with the deadlifts. So I think they're very important.
Alright guys, now that we know how to deadlift, one more thing for you on why deadlifts are so great is that when you're lifting heavier with proper form, you're actually going to be releasing so much hormones and testosterone throughout your body that it's going to help with everything else in growth. A lot of people think, oh, I just want biceps to grow, so they only train biceps. You're actually growing when you're sleeping, and when you're having that testosterone and those hormones and everything released in these heavy movements, it's very beneficial on why compound exercises are king for growing muscle, overall strength, and everything else. I hope you guys enjoyed this workout. For more content, stay tuned at Natty Gains, and have a blessed day wherever you're at.